There's a crappy reboot in your neighborhood. Who you gonna call? Peter! Okay, enough of that. I saw Ghostbusters the other day, and I guess it's gonna be kind of hard to explain everything. My creator, Daniel, he is not a Ghostbusters fan. He thinks the first Ghostbusters is boring, and the second movie is just more the same, so he's not gonna be like, oh, this reboot has ruined my childhood. And I'm not really into Ghostbusters myself either. I just like the connection between Peter Venkman being voiced by the guy who did Garfield's voice, and then Bill Murray did Garfield's voice in the that terrible CGI movie I don't want to talk about. But anyway, this movie has had a bunch of controversy around it. If you watch the YouTube channel Midnight's Edge, you'll know everything about, you know, it's the most disliked trailer in history on YouTube and everything. And there's all this controversy, like the director Paul Feig, I think his name is, like acting like a child on Twitter, and accusations of sexism, and it's just a bunch of craziness. And it was like, I went into the movie thinking it's gonna be lame and just not well made, and I was surprised that it's actually okay. I mean, with so much drama around the making of the movie and the cancellation of Ghostbusters 3 for in place of a reboot, you would think the movie would be a total travesty, but it's not. I'm kind of surprised. I mean, it's not great, but I thought it was satisfactory. Okay, I think I should first say this movie is not feminist propaganda. At least I didn't think it was. It's really just another reboot in a line of, reboots of like Star Trek, Star Wars. Well, that's not exactly a reboot, just a better done sequel. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, taking all these old nostalgic stuff and just doing it all shiny and new. That's really just what it is. It just has a female cast in it. It is kind of disappointing they didn't do a Ghostbusters 3. I mean, even as a non-fan, I can understand, people that were fans of Ghostbusters would be disappointed they didn't go through with it, but oh well. So the movie opens in this haunted house. This guy is giving a tour of it, and he tries to spook out some visitors by taking them outside. Well, he doesn't take them into the room, but he's outside this door that goes to this cellar where some woman was locked up and she died in there. And he's like, oh, it's a scary story. And then this candle falls over, and everyone's spooked and thinks it's a ghost. But then after the tour is done and everyone leaves, the guy picks the candle up, and you see there was just like this mechanical stand thing that just made it fall over. So it was all a trick. But then some spooky stuff, weird noises and lights start coming out of the cellar door. The guy goes down to investigate it, and then there's like all this creepy ooze coming out. It's like Nickelodeon type slime ooze. I guess it's referencing the ooze from the second Ghostbusters, but I don't know. And then somehow, somehow the guy survives this. I mean, it looks like the stairway collapses while he's trying to escape the ooze, and he's like screaming and you think the guy's gonna die, but somehow he actually survives because he appears like a couple minutes later. Okay, I kind of wonder how he survived that and how he got out. But then, anyway, this leads to our main character being introduced, Erin, and she's like trying to get tenure at this university, but this guy contacts her, and apparently he knows that she once wrote a book on the paranormal, and she's trying to disassociate herself with her former paranormal career. So this paranormal book keeps getting published by Erin's friend, Abby, because they wrote it together. And so Erin goes over to Abby, and she's with this tech friend of theirs, Jillian, I think her name is. Jillian is like the tech person who's like going to build all their inventions, and this is apparently partly why they did a reboot, because they wanted to show the characters building their stuff and testing them and not just being handed over. But anyway, Abby is kind of like out there, she's smart, but she's also kind of ditzy at the same time, and she's like, oh, come on, Erin, don't we want to do this together? And they really want to find, proof of ghosts and everything. And so, they persuade Erin, and so Erin, Abby, and Jillian, they all go to the haunted house, and they get footage of that that lady who is stuck in the cellar, and then, you know, you've seen in the trailer, she slimes Aaron, and somehow Aaron is like the one character that keeps getting slimed. Like, it's some sort of running joke. And the ghost effects, I guess, they look alright. I mean, you know, I know it's gonna, the whole debate about the traditional effects and the CGI, like, I just don't care. Just make the ghosts look good. Like, Erin, she's kind of had a change of heart. She's like, okay, I want to embrace this paranormal stuff. They post it to YouTube, and she gets fired and loses tenure. And so, the three of them, they really want to try and, you know, prove ghosts and show they're not total crackpots. We also see the black lady that eventually joins them, Patty, I think her name is, and she's working in the subway. And this creepy guy appears in front of her. His name is Rowan, I think, and he's the villain. Yeah, I'm just gonna spoil that right now, but he's the one who's like setting up these blue devices that's trying to attract ghosts. And so Patty spots Rowan like sneaking into the subway area, and she follows him. And then I think she sees one of those blue devices, and an electrocuted ghost appears and scares her, and that leads Patty to call the Ghostbusters, although they don't call themselves the Ghostbusters at first. It's like, you know, the research of the paranormal or some weird stuff like that. So the Ghostbusters, they try to get a place in a firehouse, but then they get moved to like a Chinese restaurant place in the upstairs area. That's a bit weird. And then they hire a phone receptionist played by Chris Hemsworth, aka Thor, and I think it's kind of funny. Like, if you watch Midnight's Edge, you know, there were leaked emails where I think Paul Feig said he wanted to do like a cinematic universe with the Ghostbusters. And I guess Sony is still a bit butthurt that they lost Spider-Man, you know, and then they're now sharing the character and they can't do a cinematic universe with him. So they're going to turn Ghostbusters into a cinematic universe, and they got an Avenger too. I guess maybe it's a little joke on their part or something, I don't know. But anyway, they have Patty comes to the Ghostbusters, and she's like, oh, there's this weird ghost in the subway. And this is the first time they actually get to test out their equipment. They build the proton pack. Yeah, and they are able to catch the ghost, although they don't, well, they lasso him with the proton pack, but they can't actually catch him. And that's what leads to Jillian to, like, you know, just build new devices. And she gets kind of really creative with, like, you know, the kinds of stuff she builds. Like, she shows them, like, proton brass knuckles, you know, proton vacuum cleaner or something. Like, I don't know, they liked Luigi's Mansion or something. And, you know, taking the proton pack idea and just turning it into all these kind of neat little things, like a proton pack grenade. I don't know how to explain it, really.
I forgot to mention how the Ghostbusters make their logo. At first, Chris Hemsworth draws some very lame logos, including one of a ghost with boobs. But then while they're in the subway, this graffiti artist dude spray paints a ghost with a cross-out sign on it, and the Ghostbusters use that as their logo. And this kind of made me think something weird, like, wouldn't this guy demand royalties for his artwork being used this way? Like, maybe he should have written to the side of his graffiti, original character, don't steal.
So after the whole ghost in the subway thing, the Ghostbusters recruit Patty onto their team, since she's street smart and she really knows the city and everything. And we briefly see this skeptic guy on TV, and this is actually one of the cameos. Bill Murray is the skeptic dude. And he's like, I am snooty, I am skeptical, I don't believe in ghosts and blah blah blah. Like, he's, if you've seen like God's Not Dead and the atheist professor guy, he's kind of like that, though not as much as an asshole, just really snooty and everything. When Patty joins the team, she's the one who gets them their car, Ecto-1, and it's obviously built into a hearse. And she explains her uncle like runs a funeral home. And that kind of leads to one of the funnier scenes where it's like, you know, are you sure there's not a body in there? And blah, 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 blah. And I'm going to just spoil a bit of the ending. The ending shows her uncle is actually played by Ernie Hudson. So, you know, there's another one of the original cast cameos. So they get their first real case, and it's at this hotel place where there's a Ozzy Osbourne concert. And they go into the bowels of the hotel or something, and they're looking for the ghost. And there's this kind of funny scene where Patty's like alone. Yeah, they split up, the usual cliche. Let's split up, gang. But she's alone. She sees a bunch of mannequins. She's like, oh, well, I guess there's no ghosts here. But then one of the mannequins comes to life and starts following her. And then she realizes it's possessed by a ghost. She goes to find the other Ghostbusters. They shoot it with their proton packs. And it's like a giant green dragon ghost that's inside the mannequin. Like, I guess dragons are real in this universe, and, you know, they die and leave ghosts around or something. But anyway, the ghost goes into the concert, and I guess since it's a rock concert, they just assume it's like part of the special effects or something. And there's a really weird scene where the Ghostbusters are like, they're trying to catch the ghost dragon, and Patty like falls over, and then when she gets up, like the dragon's on her shoulders. And she's like, yeah, I know it's on there. And it's kind of weird seeing the dragon just suddenly holding still all of a sudden. But anyway, they catch the ghost dragon, and everyone loves the Ghostbusters. And, you know, right away the media is like bad-mouthing them, wondering, is this real or is it a hoax? And they take the ghost dragon inside their trap into Ghostbusters headquarters in the Chinese place. And that is when Bill Murray the Skeptic comes in, demanding to see the ghost. And, you know, as usual, he's being really snooty and everything. Show me the evidence. And if you remember in God's Not Dead, where they killed the atheist professor at the end, they kill Bill Murray's character. Like, holy crap. You know, they're hesitant to let the ghost dragon out at first, but when they finally do, the ghost dragon flies out at Bill Murray and he's thrown out the window and dies. And, like, wow. If you're in a movie about the paranormal or God or anything, and you're the skeptic or atheist character, don't take that role. They're going to kill you. Yeah, it's kind of a bit awkward, too, since Daniel, my artist, has actually drawn for Skeptic magazine, so it was a little bit awkward seeing this kind of straw man skeptic there. Yeah, I'm so snooty and everything. Show me the evidence. And it's kind of weird that, like, after Bill Murray's character is killed, like, they try to brush it off, like, oh, it was an accident, you know, like, geez, they just accidentally killed a person. You'd think the Ghostbusters would be a bit more shaken up or something. I think maybe the reason why they killed off Bill Murray's character is, like, it's kind of supposed to be kind of a just desserts for how much of a dick he was over doing a third Ghostbusters movie. Like, he wasn't really sure whether he would do it or not. You know, how weird it is that he would sooner do a Garfield movie than he would do Ghostbusters 3. I find it a bit weird that, like, they killed off the skeptic character so soon. Like, I thought he was gonna be like, kind of like the environmentalist people in the first Ghostbusters, where, you know, they turn off the grid and then all the ghosts are released and they basically cause a travesty, you know. I was thinking, like, you know, the skeptic guy would say, show me the dragon, and they release the dragon and then the dragon just goes on a rampage in the city. But no, actually, the dragon just disappears for a moment, and he does, I think, come back towards the end, the climax, but I don't know. Kind of a wasted opportunity there.
After Bill Murray's skeptic dies, the city officials and police come over. However, rather than charging the Ghostbusters with manslaughter, instead they're taken to the mayor's office, and they strike this really weird deal with the mayor. The government acknowledges that ghosts exist, and they're willing to work with the Ghostbusters. However, they want to kind of keep this operation a secret, so they don't cause a mass panic across town. So they're going to work with the Ghostbusters behind the scenes, but publicly they're going to denounce them and call them crazy and everything. And the filmmakers are doing this because if you watch Midnight's Edge, yeah, I'm mentioning them for the millionth time, this is to try and avoid the mistake that Ghostbusters 2 made, where the Ghostbusters save the city, but then 5 years later everyone forgets. It is rather kind of contrived, but I'm willing to roll with it. Although it's nowhere as contrived as the villain.
So we now start to get into the villain's actual plot, and I think the best thing about the movie is just the interaction between the four lead actresses. And, you know, they're pretty funny and they do well. There are some lame jokes here and there, but they do alright. The weaker part, though, of the movie, I think, is the villain's whole plot and everything. Because the villain isn't really well developed. He's this janitor dude. I mean, they go from having a demigod as the villain in the first movie, and then an evil painting in the second movie, and now a janitor. Wow, what a downgrade. But this movie does teach you, do not fuck with the janitor, because they will mess you up real good. So the Ghostbusters start to discover his plan. They notice, they record every location where they found one of those weird ghost devices Rowan was leaving, and they realize it coincides with ley lines, and they just so happen to converge on the hotel where Rowan works. And they look at a photo of the hotel staff. Patty notices Rowan from the subway, so it's kind of a big contrived coincidence how they figure out he's probably the one behind everything. So they go to the hotel. They find Rowan in the basement where he's built this really big ghost channeling machine. How does a janitor find the time and the knowledge to build a thing like this? And they're like, we have you surrounded, Rowan. And they call the police also. So Rowan is trapped, and Rowan threatens to turn the ghost machine on, but then instead he electrocutes and kills himself. Wow, they already dealt with him. Holy moly. But it turns out that was actually all part of his plan.
And after the Ghostbusters stop Rowan, the police then fake arrest them in front of the media, again, to just perpetuate the illusion that the Ghostbusters aren't real, and the government doesn't want anything to do with them.
Aaron, finds out that Rowan was inspired by the book she and Abby wrote to, I don't know, Rowan, his motivations isn't really explained well. It's just that he hates humanity because, he's been treated badly or something. But he was apparently using their ghost book to, figure out how to channel ghosts and everything. And Erin, she goes separate from the other Ghostbusters and is reading it. And then she sees, not only was Rowan, this mad genius scientist and janitor, he was also, an artist, and he's been writing things and drawing these illustrations of how I'm going to open the ghost dimension and rule the world. And Erin goes into a panic. And meanwhile, while she's figuring out Rowan's plan that, he wanted to become a ghost, Abby is in Ghostbusters headquarters with the other Ghostbusters, and suddenly Rowan's ghost then possesses her. And if you've seen the trailer, this leads to the whole scene where Patty's like, "The power of pain compels you!" Smack. Yeah, so... But then when they get Rowan out of out of Abby's body, he then possesses not Thor, and not Thor then goes to the hotel and tries to turn on the ghost machine thing again. Meanwhile, Erin is panicking. She tries to find the mayor, and this is where there's kind of a little inconsistency thing here. She's warning the mayor, Rowan's gonna destroy the city and blah 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 blah. The mayor's at some sort of lunch event or something, and since the government is supposed to be working with the Ghostbusters, you would think that the mayor would be since he's at a party, he can't openly say, believe the Ghostbusters, but he'd be get out of here, you nutcase. Okay, I'll evacuate the city. Go away. Kind of being covert and about it, but instead he's just dismissing her completely. So that is a bit of, I think, of a bit of an inconsistency, but oh well. So anyway, not Thor turns on the ghost machine, and this is something I've noticed with movies lately. The Avengers, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, both the recent one, Out of the Shells, and the 2007 one also, you might say. Fantastic Four, they all have these climaxes that involve a portal being opened and evil coming out. How many times is this going to be done in movies? I mean, at least this time in this movie, the portal is in the ground where the hotel is, but it still creates a vortex in the sky, so it's we have to close a portal in New York, but not exactly in the sky, but it's just... This is getting overused. Oh, and before I forget to mention, it's in the climax where Dan Aykroyd gets his cameo. He's a taxi cab driver. I think it's Aaron who's trying to get to the hotel. And Dan Aykroyd's just I'm getting out of here. I ain't afraid of no ghosts. So, I don't know. If you're happy to see more of the original cast, Dan Aykroyd is there. And he doesn't get killed, unlike Bill Murray. I do find it funny, though, that in the Avengers, it's Loki who's opening the portal, but in this movie, it's not Thor who's opening the portal. Kind of a funny coincidence, I think. So then he opens the portal, a bunch of ghosts start coming out, and, the city people are running away and everything, and it's up to the Ghostbusters to stop him. So Patty, Jillian, Abby, Aaron's not with them yet. They go out to try and, with their proton packs and all their weapons, and they find this parade thing, there's ghosts from all across time that are coming out. There are no ghost aliens. If you saw the leaked emails that Midnight's Edge discussed, apparently Paul Feig thought it would be funny if they had ghost aliens. But they aren't anywhere in the movie, unless that dragon ghost is supposed to be a ghost alien. I don't know. But anyway, they come across this parade that's got really old New York air balloons or something, Thanksgiving balloons or whatever. And one of them is the Stay Puft Marshmallow, actually. So they have a little reference to the monster at the end of the first movie. But Abby finally catches up and pops it with a pocket knife she got earlier in the movie. I forgot to mention that. I think it was given to her when they were testing their weapons, with the proton grenade and whatever. And so they then make their way to the hotel where Rowan is possessing not Thor. And the army comes up, and again, if you paid attention to the leaked emails, there was supposed to be a big dance number here where Rowan would take control of all of the police and the army and make them dance across New York just to mock them. But apparently, he just makes them stand still. The dance sequence is actually in the credits, which is weird. But I think they had problems doing the scene in a way that Paul Feig wanted, but oh well. So anyway, this is what leads to a giant, action sequence where the Ghostbusters are they send a bunch of ghosts at them, and I kind of didn't know that proton packs could be actually used in ghost combat, using it as weapon. They test out the vacuum thing and the grenades. And I didn't know they could kill ghosts, or at least incapacitate them. That's kind of new. But anyway, it's all fun to watch. I'd say, while the climax is fun, it is kind of the weakest part of the movie, because this is where it's just kind of just rehashing the ending of the first movie. The giant apocalyptic cataclysm, and they have to stop a giant monster. So then they finally make it to the hotel, and Rowan, he gives up not Thor's body, and then they do the homage to the Stay Puft Marshmallow. What form do you want me to take? Something cute. And then Rowan then turns into this giant. Oh, I forgot to mention that Slimer finally gets his cameo at the end of the movie. I have to mention this because he actually steals the Ghostbusters car, and the car actually is going to be part of the climax. Rowan turns into a giant version of the Ghostbusters ghost logo thing. Okay, that's a bit random. But anyway, like the Stay Puft Marshmallow, he starts destroying the city and everything. And the Ghostbusters, they figure out that the car that I have no idea why, but there's a nuclear device built on top of their car, Ecto-1 or whatever it's called. And Slimer and Slimer's girlfriend, yeah, he got a girlfriend now. They're driving the car around the city randomly, and they figure out if they shoot the nuclear device on their car with their proton packs, it calls a full protonic reversal. Yeah, they just kind of just throw in that from the first movie. But it's gonna create a giant ghost trap. If they do it over the portal, it runs in reverse or something, like a drain. I don't know. It's weird. So after they blow up the car, it causes the portal to go in reverse. And for some reason, when the portal goes in reverse, the hotel was getting destroyed when it was open, but for some reason, it gets fixed when it's going backwards. I don't know why. So I guess reversing the portal makes it go backwards in time or something. I don't know. But anyway, Rowan Ghostbuster logo monster thing, he starts getting sucked in, but he's way too big to get sucked in all the way. So the Ghostbusters have to shoot their proton packs at him to kind of weaken him, and they actually shoot him in the crotch. That's kind of a weird joke. Huh. I said I didn't think that this movie was feminist propaganda, but now that I think about it again, if I was like one of these professional misogynists online, like War Corpse 666. Oh God, no, not War Corpse. Can I have someone else? Yeah, that's good. Dave Zarini. Just add more skulls. Yeah, if I was someone like him, I would probably be like, oh, this Ghostbusters is supposed to be a masculine story, and shooting the ghost villain in the crotch is symbolic of how the female cast wants to castrate all men. I don't know, some stupid interpretation like that. But anyway, they shoot Rowan ghost monster thing. He falls into the portal, but he grabs Abby while he's at it. I kind of forget where he did that or something. But anyway, Erin ties herself up with a hose or something. She jumps in and she goes into the ghost portal, and it's kind of another Avengers parallel where Tony Stark goes into the Tesseract portal and briefly sees the aliens that are attacking Earth. Here it's like Erin goes into the ghost portal and briefly sees the ghost world or something. But anyway, she pulls out Abby, and their hair turns white briefly. I don't know why. And everyone's saved, and not Thor gets a sandwich while everyone was trying to save the Earth or something. I don't know. It's one of the weirder jokes. But anyway, so then when the movie ends, the government just covers it up and says it's I don't know, the water supply was poisoned or something, and everyone hallucinated. But everyone in town that was around to see everything that happened, they know what happened, and they change the lights to say thank you Ghostbusters at the end. And the Ghostbusters, they finally move into the firehouse, and they're glad that the city loves them, even if the government has to denounce them in public and kind of pretend they're not working together when they are. And that's the whole movie. And also the stinger, I already knew the outline of the plot thanks to Midnight's Edge, but the stinger is Patty listening to this voice EVP thing, and she says, "What's Zool?" So I guess setting up for the next movie. It kind of makes me, if they're gonna have Gozer as the villain for the next movie, since the ending of this movie was just a remake of Ghostbusters 1's ending, what are they gonna have Gozer do different in the next Ghostbusters? They can't do the Stay Puft Marshmallow again, can they? Oh well. Well, anyway, that was the whole movie. It was okay. So I guess if you're just a casual moviegoer, you'll probably like the movie. But if you're someone like James Rolfe, you were just really, really anticipating to see Ghostbusters 3, and you're disappointed they did a reboot, I can't say this movie's going to change your mind. So anyway, that's Peter the Cat. Ghostbusters, it's okay for what it is. Well, anyway, see you all later. Bye, everyone. Oh yeah, I nearly forgot. There's a pussy fart joke in the movie. It's just disgusting. I mean, you humans think it's okay to use language that's demeaning against cats like that. Pussy fart. I mean, come on. Where are all the social justice warriors defending us cats against abusive language like that? I'm disappointed. # Cat Lives Matter.